Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. I'm joined by my super pack. First time these three have been together. Talk TV's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Talk TV contributor, Paula Rowan-Adrian. And the comedian, his words not mine, James Barr. Welcome to all of you.
Wow, you're so gracious, Piers.
Just a little gag, James, just to get you in the right spirit. I want to pay a little tribute before we get to the pack to one of Britain's greatest ever actors. And I use that phrase very deliberately. Sir Michael Gambon has died aged 82. So many things you could say about him. He just had an amazing career, amazing range. He was one of the true greats that our theatre has ever produced. And of course, did many great movies and so on. I once interviewed him at the National Theatre, where he played many a great role. And I asked him what he thought of the increasing malaise of sort of talentless, Z-list celebrity wannabes trying to be stars. And he went, you know, all I've ever wanted to do was act. I remember sitting in this very dressing room after my first hit here, and people outside applauding when they saw me at the window. And that was so exciting. It's what I wanted, recognition of my work. But what all these modern celebrities want is a quick buck with no talent or hard work required. It's awful. So I said to him, what would you call this type of person? And Sir Michael looked at me and smirked and said, I would call them a cretin. R.I.P. Sir Michael. You were brilliant on stage and you were brilliant off it to interview. A great actor. I want to talk about another theatrical story. Cinder-fella, the Scottish ballet, is doing what everyone does now. They're taking a very popular classic fairy tale, which obviously is about a woman, identifying as a woman. And they're going to switch it around. So apparently audiences won't know, apparently, from night to night. It'll be very exciting, whether it'll be Cinderella or Cinder-fella. To which my point, Isabel, is why can't they just leave this stuff alone? Why do the woke brigade have to come for everything? Why do they have to ruin everything? Why do they have to de-gender, change gender, abuse gender? Why can't they just leave us alone, these people? Why can't Cinderella be Cinderella?
Do you know something really weird? This was actually first done in the 60s.
Yes.
There was a thing called Cinder-fella.
Yes.
A film. I think it was
Jerry
a film.
Lewis. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
fantastic.
joke.
This is not...
It's a joke.
Well, it was satire, wasn't it? But it's not...
Yes.
So this isn't even original. Look, I'm going to actually surprise you and say, I actually think this
Oh,
sounds quite
God,
fun.
no, you've gone.
I think it
You've
sounds
gone.
quite fun.
We've
Look,
lost you.
I wouldn't take my kids to it.
You're
but
supposed to be on this pack as a voice of common sense.
I
What's the
know.
matter with you?
Come on, it's quite entertaining.
Huh?
I mean,
No, it's
I
not.
quite like that element of jeopardy. Is it going to be Cinder-fella or
But hang on a
Cinderella?
minute, Isabel. You wouldn't take your children to it.
I'm
Come
jo-
on, of
I'm-
course you would.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
It's an
I
absolute
wouldn't take any
pile
of
of
my
old
kids to it.
rubbish. It's just attention seeking.
James, all right, James,
Listen,
I know what
it's
you're going to
great.
say. Why?
Why are
though?
you bothered? But actually, it's a really important thing because it's flipping the narrative and making
not
the guy
What's the
victim.
narrative?
No,
It's not
it is
important.
because it's turning the guy into the victim who needs saving.
Oh, yeah.
And ultimately,
Okay, now
we
he's
all
lost me.
need saving. Particularly you
no,
right now on this
I
panel.
don't
by
need
the looks of things.
saving.
Well, why don't you love
Everyone
this?
needs
It's
to
an
save
upside
me.
down realm where everyone is. You could actually play one of the ugly sisters. Finally, your dream role.
Oh, you came to play, didn't you?
Ow.
Oh.
But on a serious
Paula.
note, we talk about masculine toxicity, and here we have the classic example. Why aren't you supporting this? Why don't you want men to be vulnerable? Why don't you want other men
God.
to see
Okay,
men
Piers, I've changed
in
my mind.
that
See
kind
what
of
you've done?
role?
Oh, I've changed
I'm
my
just
mind.
saying.
I don't
I'm
mind
just
men
saying.
being vulnerable, but you know what I love most in the world? I like a stiff
Tradition.
upper British lip.
A bit
Wow.
of tradition.
I like
Okay.
people who don't spend their entire time
That
blubbing.
is what
their entire
these
time
men who
playing
are in
the
this
victim.
role have. They
I don't
have
want
resilience
I'm
to stand up
absolutely
against this
done
kind of stuff.
up to here with the victim culture that we now have to endure, where everyone's a victim. Weakness is celebrated.
I think there's a difference
strength
between
is
being a victim and
strength
being
is a
vulnerable.
problem. Right? Everyone has to emote 24/7.
Did
you
you
come
not
into
ask-
work.
Did you not ask the
I
question?
can't
Piers?
handle it.
He's
Why?
completely-
He asked the question, why? That sounded like a victim to me.
Do you know
These are
who's not?
strong
I'll tell you who's
men
not a victim.
who are
I'll tell you who's
voicing-
not a victim. Mick Jagger, right? Who's 80 years old, still doing his thing. Amazing, really. Physical freak to be still prancing around doing that. I mean, look at Joe Biden by comparison.
I know.
They're within about 8 months of age, right? Mick Jagger has announced he's not going to give his money to his 8 kids. He's got apparently $500 million, right? I like that idea. If my kids are watching, I really like that idea. Because why would he give? Why would you give, Isabel, all that cash to young people before they've even try to make their own way in many of the cases of his kids. Some are still very young. Why remove all hunger? People I know who've done that too. I know people who've given their kids loads of money.
It's a very bad idea.
It kills the hunger.
Yeah, I could.
And without a hunger and desire to make that money for yourself, I think you end up with just a wasted life.
I completely agree with you. I am going to assume that he's leaving them something. They probably already have assets, whether it's property or whatever. But absolutely, if you make life too easy for your children, if they don't actually have to feel a bit of a struggle, then there's nothing to get up for. And they they drift around, they flop around.
Yeah, I talked to Cristiano Ronaldo about this, right? And we had dinner one night after I interviewed him the first time. And he was saying that, his son's very good at football, his oldest son. And he said he's very, very good, but he can't give him the hunger that he had. Yeah. He was literally hungry.
Yes.
He used to sit round the back of a McDonald's and two lovely ladies, he said, I wish I could, we tried to find them, but we couldn't. They used to give him the cast-off.
That's problematic.
Yeah, we used to give him the cast-off Big Macs, right?
Right.
And he said that was how hungry I was. So everything was driven by this intense desire to get out of that cycle he was in of hunger. But when his son has now got a dad worth $1 billion, probably, right? You can't give... That doesn't mean to say he won't develop his own desire and hunger. It's so much harder to instill it in someone, right?
I would just say I'd like to pick up on what you said there, because you were commending Mick Jagger for jumping around on stage at his age.
Yes.
But you wouldn't say that about Madonna. So I do think there's some hypocrisy.
No, because it's the way she dresses and the way she humiliates herself.
And leading on from that, I'm not actually concerned whether Mick Jagger would leave his children money. I mean, Jerry Hall... Bianca Jagger. I mean, these are strong women. They are there supporting the children. So this isn't really about Mick Jagger leaving his children.
But it's more about a principle. I do think I've seen people leave their kids too much money, and they just remove any incentive to
How much money are you leaving your kids, Piers?
Very little.
Right.
Actually, well, I say very little. I'd like to think I can help them in some way, right? I would like to remove from everybody, right? Never mind my kids, but anyone's kids, right? I'd like to remove the stress of having no money. I think the stress of not being able to feed yourself or feed your children or your family or whatever, that is one of the worst stresses in the world outside of bad health, right?
And I think this is ultimately the problem with this article, because Mick Jagger can sit back and laugh about how he's not going to leave his very comfortable children more money. They don't need it.
Be interesting to know what he is going to do with it. I don't know whether he's revealed that.
He said he might give it to charity, so you might do some good in the world.
Yeah, well, that's
He's
great.
an LGBTQ plus charity.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Hang on, what did you call it? LGBT?
Don't even start.
Hang on, what did you call it?
Don't even start.
What happened to the two?
Oh, goodness me.
Where are the twos?
Yeah, they're there.
No, you didn't say two.
Leave me alone.
No, I won't.
You don't come on this show to be left
You have
alone.
ungendered the twos.
I
Two
haven't-
spirits.
The two spirits, of
two
course.
spirits.
No, they're very...
Where are they then? Why didn't
Very
you say
nice.
two plus?
Two LGBTQIA+.
Wow, I'm really disappointed in you, James.
Thank you.
I really think, I mean, obviously by tomorrow there'll be another one, but at the moment it is Q2 plus.
Do you think
It
we
is.
should
Now I know
cancel-
that, and I'm surprised you
I
don't
think
know
we should
that.
cancel him. Maybe
Well,
we should.
Maybe.
honestly,
Well,
Hold on
I
a
think
second.
we
I
should
thought
do-
you'd caught the woke mind virus.
as a
seconds
two-spirit
ago, and
penguin
now-
myself, I've identified as I'm actually personally taking that very
So
badly.
you're saying you're half black and half white? Piers?
No, I'm a two-spirit penguin. Well, I think we all are a bit. I had
Half
my
black,
DNA.
half white.
I had my DNA done.
Right.
You know, zero English in me.
Really?
Zero.
What's in
Mainly
you?
Irish, a bit of Scottish. They charted me back to Robert the Bruce. Little bit of Welsh. A little bit of Middle Eastern.
Quite a lot of
Right?
misogyny.
But absolutely, sorry?
And a lot of misogyny.
Ooh! But zero English. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And yet I was born
How
in
the
England.
Scottish would feel about that. So I'm thinking that we're on a work due to Scotland to watch the ballet, right?
No, we're not.
Right.
We're going to talk instead about... Is calling somebody woke as bad as a racial slur? Actress CATHY TYSON said in an interview with The Telegraph, "For me, it's as bad a term as an offensive racial slur. The term woke and race guard are deeply offensive to me," she quoted. So the latter is thrown in your face if you make criticism of anything. So here's the thing, James. I don't think it is, because I read a whole book about this. I identify as woke by the original definition, which came from the American music business in the 60s. And it was about raising awareness of social and racial injustice. I absolutely, by that criteria, I'm a woke person, right? What's happened is woke has become hijacked by a lot of social media mobs in particular, and they use it as a form of fascism now to basically try and make everybody conform to their way of thinking. That's my problem with it.
See, I find that interesting because I actually think it's that, but also the opposite of that, in that people use it as a slur to say,
It's a
to
pejorative,
undermine
isn't it?
your.
Absolutely.
I think it's become a slur by definition because the people in that woke world who identify themselves
Well,
as
I'm not
woke,
entirely sure why you're blaming woke people for that.
because a lot of them, I think, are actually worthy of condemnation for propagating the nonsensical views they have and then expecting all of us to agree with it.
But you have actually used the word woke about me as a slur. You've called me a wokey
Yes,
or whatever.
I called you a wokey.
Right, exactly. So, in a way, you're.
That's because you propagate woke thought processes which are ridiculous.
But
So you think it's ridiculous to, like, stand against racism?
Well, no, but if I asked you, for example, should biological males be allowed to compete in women's sport?
This is a
Hang on,
crazy
what would you say?
This is a
What would you
crazy
say?
question that I'm not here to talk about.
What would you say?
Chris, because it's not something
can't
I'm an
answer,
expert
can you?
on. I'm not an expert on it.
No. I
you
know.
also
but
probably don't have
you don't
the
want to
right
say,
answer.
because you know what you would have to say to fit the criteria of being a wokey. You would have to say you agree with it, and in that moment, everyone watching at home goes, "You're a complete lunatic then. You're a wokey by the common definition today."
But
Isabel.
she's a complete classic of the genre, isn't she? Because she's going on about how deeply offended she is. And that is the whole thing about
Yeah.
wokery. It's continually about people being offended.
Offended by everything.
And causing offence. And then...
And everyone.
Everyone. And I mean...
So should Suella Braverman have been deeply offended by Gary Lineker's tweet? I don't think she should have been. But she told us that she was. She told us how outraged
I
she was
just
and how
don't really do
offended she was and
offence.
insulted
Paul, I
she
don't
was.
think even you
and
think
he
that.
was suspended for that.
I don't think even you, as a black woman, can feel comfortable that calling someone woke is as bad as a racial slur. Come on.
What the point is, and it's a point that I agree with James and pick up on, it's used now as a pejorative, isn't it? It's used to
Well, it's
insult.
deservedly
it's
When it's
used to
deserved.
insult
When it's
me.
deserved, yeah.
I don't think it is when it's deserved. I think it's just thrown out there for anybody who happens to say, hang on a minute, is this fair?
No, I would say
Is this
99%
reasoned?
of people that I call woke in a derogatory manner
Deserve
it
they
because
deserve
they're
it.
being ridiculous.
So it is a slur, you agree?
Well,
but does
I'm
that-
just going to say, but
does
that's
it
the
really
point.
matter?
I don't think
Yeah,
it
that you're
even comes
using it
close
as
to being a
slur.
slur as like a
But
racial
you're using
slur.
it as a slur.
Well, I'm not. I'm saying that your views, the woke world's view of life, I find ridiculous, right? Utterly ridiculous. Therefore, I'm using it as a term of mockery. Abusing someone about their skin colour is a completely different, and in my view, far more serious thing.
So why are you using the word woke? Why don't you stop using the word
Because
woke
it's-
You know
as
why?
a pejorative
Because it's
You know why?
and say that what you are saying
You know
is
why, Paula?
ridiculous or what you're
Because-
saying is nonsense?
Because it really annoys the wokies when I call
Yeah.
them
Wokey.
I don't think we're annoyed, are we, Paula?
Oh, yes.
think you
I'm pretty
are.
calm,
I have
actually.
a big
I'm not annoyed at
smile on
all.
my face
I feel
at
really
wokies.
proud of being called woke because
Because-
it means I'm trying to make the world a better place.
And
you're
not only
not
that,
like
but you
you.
know what
Woke
happens
people
is
make the world a worse place. They
do.
make it a joyless,
Ridiculous.
They do.
humorless,
Offended,
fascist state where
sad,
everybody has to look the same, sound
miserable.
the same, say the right
That is
things,
absolutely-
can't crack any
That's
jokes.
actually disgusting.
Blah,
Say that we
blah,
all
blah.
want
It is
people to look
disgusting.
the
I agree.
same.
We
Oh,
finally
okay.
agree,
How
James.
could you
Go, it
possibly
is.
think that we all want each other to look the same when we're all about inclusivity for
Do you know, I've
everyone?
just realised, looking at you sitting in that chair, you're the new Richard Tice.
Thank you.
Although I couldn't think of anybody
That sounds like a slur.
less like Richard Tice in
Really
the
is
entire
not a
world.
slur. It's a great compliment.
That definitely felt like a slur, to be honest with you.
Actually,
I'm
it's a
putting my
com-
Ofcom
I'm gonna
complaint
take
in
it
tonight.
as a
So woke
great
Richard Tice.
compliment.
Yes.
It's a compliment. And in about a minute, when you go off there, you're going to realise why Isabel may not see that as a slur. Are you aware that?
No.
Oh, right.
Oh, tell me, what have I missed?
Oh, they're an item.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you've
I'm
just
so sorry,
abused
Isabel.
Isabel's
That-
Oh,
power.
goodness
that's
me.
all right.
Right, which is fine, but you might feel a little uncomfortable now.
Right, no, well,
No,
Which is
no,
great
no.
because I made it. I
See,
made
I
it
didn't
end.
get offended. And
I made it
neither,
end.
neither would he.
I made it end with a moment of excruciating, mortifying embarrassment for James Barr, and that's always a good way to finish a pack. Great to see you. Come back soon, James.
Thank you.